Welcome to the Exploring New England podcast with Ryan Zipp, where each week I will be talking about what makes this historic region such an amazing place to enjoy. From the scenic views to road trip ideas to where to grab the best eats and much more. Let's get going. Hello and welcome to episode 28 of the Exploring New England podcast with me, Ryan Zipp. Now we are officially into the fall season here in New England and everywhere, I guess. But last week's episode, I was kind of talking about how we had the last few days of summer, technically, and how I would be wrapping things up with one last coastal vibe visit, like I have done now for the last handful of years, before making my way fully into fall season in planning and actually being out there enjoying and capturing the scenes all over New England. So it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. It's definitely my favorite season, like with many who are photographers or not here in New England. It's hard not to be, especially living here. And but before I can fully turn the page, I like to soak up every last minute of summer, as I really appreciate what each season brings to the table, and also I just don't ever want to wish time away to rush to the next thing. And I feel like a lot of people kind of do that, and teach their own, obviously. But when we still had 3 weeks plus of summer left and people were ready to move on, I was just getting ready to enjoy my coastal trips with a lot less people. So yeah, like I was just saying before, for the last I don't know, 4 or 5 years or so, this kind of last week of summer, technically right to the very end, I've enjoyed going somewhere, whether it was Martha's Vineyard. Both times I've been there actually has been for this third week in September in the past. Done the Cape a few times. I guess Block Island I did a number of years ago, was this kind of last weekend. Yeah, so I just want to get one more trip in, and then I feel like I'm ready to, when I get home from that one, I'm like ready, because I got that last visit in. So and this past weekend was no exception to that. So while looking for where I wanted to go, I also was looking back this summer and where I might not have gotten to as much as I'd like. And coastal Maine is a spot that's a favorite of mine in any season. But something about summer there obviously is special, and I feel like I didn't get there enough. There's just never enough time to get everywhere. So I decided I wanted to go there for this last weekend, and ended up focusing more on like the southern coastal region. So you have Kittery, you have York, Gunkwit, Wells, Kennebunkport, Old Orchard Beach, etc., a few others, and up to Portland, so that stretch there. The first night, I was trying to think of where would be a good spot. I wouldn't be getting up there till after dark, so it wasn't like a sunset target was in mind or anything. And Old Orchard Beach is where I ended up going for Saturday night into Sunday. And I've been there, a handful of times with my camera, but only actually stayed there once as an adult. I'd gone there, as a kid with one of my friends that I grew up with in like grammar school. His family would go there during the summer, so I went there a few times with him on trips. But it wasn't until years later, when I was getting into photography, I made it back. And the only other time I stayed there was, I think 2021? 2021, I think, yeah. In May, I was doing some getting some content for Visit Maine on one of the trips. That was one of the stays there, to try to get the sunrise at the iconic pier there. So I figured I think it'd only been two occasions before I tried to capture the sunrise there. So I figured that would be a good one, and why not like stay by as close to the beach as possible for these last nights. Um, Ended up booking a room at the Ocean House, which is an old school inn there, right by the beach, right off the main road. Um, it was originally built, I believe, 1895. It's one of the oldest like inns there on the beach that still has its original, character and charm. Although they did recently remodel it in the last year and a half. Forget exactly when they did, but it was within the last year or so. And so you still have the old school bones of it. There's a few different buildings, different kinds of rooms. I think you have a pool there, and then you do have this kind of walkway path out to the beach there, and then you have the whole beach. I think it said it's like 7 mile stretch of sand there. I believe saw that a few places, and it's about a 10-minute walk from there to the pier. But just nice to be, right by the beach and the ocean, obviously. I snagged a room that had an ocean view, so I was able to have the window open. And although you're not like right on the beach there, it's not far. There's just a little like dune grass or marsh grass kind of in between. So it ended up working out, and like I've stressed a number of times before, I'm sure this same room would be 2 to 3 times the price when it comes to peak season, July and August. So nice to get there, enjoy it, enjoy the hotel itself, and where you are. And the days were warm, but obviously a little bit chillier nights. So you just throw a hoodie on, and you're still able to kind of enjoy the beach vibes there. But yeah, I got up there just a little after dark, wasn't too late. Checked in, grabbed the room, and then figured I'd walk down to the pier area just to kind of check things out and also grab some dinner. And it was nice just to walk barefoot down, get feet on the sand kind of one last time, and as part of this whole saying goodbye to summer officially thing I have going on. And I hadn't had them in years, and a number of people who knew I was there told me immediately, like, oh, you have to have the pier fries. It's kind of just one of those iconic food options at a place like this. They're all over New England and everywhere, but they actually used to be on the pier, and I don't know when they moved. Just so it's just half a block up. It's not far at all. But by the time I got over there, they were closed a lot earlier than their normal schedule. Obviously, it's late in the season, so I get it. They probably weren't that busy, so I was a little bummed I wasn't able to grab them. But obviously I found somewhere else to eat. I was looking at a few other options, and big fan of lobster rolls, obviously, as most of you guys know by now. And it's even in Maine, it could be harder to find a really good one, just because a lot of restaurants still don't kind of do it the right way, and some places will even use frozen lobster, even though they're right there in the, area of the best lobsters anywhere, coastal Maine. So I saw a few good reviews online for a place called The Shack, and after, posting about it and telling a few people, they told me how much they loved it, and so I guess I made a good decision. But very like casual, chill spot. It's actually right next to the Beechwood, which is where I stayed back in 2021 there, which is pretty close to the pier. So there's just like a kind of like a almost like a little cottage house building, and it had tables outside covered, little like just outside kind of bar stools. I sat on one of those, and very laid back, and went with one of their lobster rolls and got a adult beverage as well. But the lobster roll was actually very good. So I was impressed. Definitely was fresh, and you could tell they had an idea of what they were doing. So since again, was my goodbye to summer, I wanted to have as much lobster as possible, but also not sacrifice it and just get anything, still wanted it to be good. So yeah, the Shack made a great lobster roll. So if you're ever in Old Orchard Beach, I didn't try anything else, but that was good, and just the vibe was cool. And like I said, I had a handful of people afterwards telling me how much they love it when they go there. So for me and several others, recommend the Shack. So walked around a bit more, just kind of cool to see, the arcade all lit up. Obviously, like, the amusement rides there and everything. It's, off season at this point from that, and not, a fraction of the amount of people and tourists that are usually there during the summer, which on one hand, you miss that whole craziness going on, but also it's nice that it's way more low key and, not a madhouse. So depending on what you want to experience it as, but still, it was fun walking around there a bit. Had a drink at one of the bars actually on the pier, and before kind of making my way back and walking back on the beach, just listening to the waves crashing. And from right when I got there Saturday until I left Monday, the waves were pretty insane. There was some, storms out off the coast there. I know going more on the Cape, and like Nantucket, I know was getting hammered, but no actual rain there where I was. But the waves were just pretty serious the whole time, which was cool. I enjoyed trying to photograph them and just enjoy them. So, got back to the hotel, settled in, and the room I had was renovated, fairly recently, like I said before, and bed was actually really comfortable and newer. Which, if you stay at a lot of these kind of oceanside beachfront places, it's more about the location and not exactly the best quality bed every time, and a lot of those are old. So yeah, so I definitely, Ocean House, I thought it was a good stay. I love the overall vibe of it, and the renovations they did, and also just being close to everything. So the plan was to obviously get sunrise the next morning. All of the weather reports and apps I had basically said full clouds, 95+% cloud cover you're looking at. But I still set my alarm anyway for just before sunrise, and opened my eyes and I looked out, and I actually saw a little bit of kind of light coming through. So I scrambled quickly to get dressed and grab my camera, made my way out to the beach, and there wasn't much space in the clouds, but there was like a little bit of kind of color coming through on the other side of the pier. So I snapped a few shots and then kept walking down, and it actually did, after a little bit, it opened up a bit and had some color coming through. And so it wasn't, ideal or any kind of great conditions. It was nice to see a little bit of the sun coming through and actually get kind of sort of what you had in mind. But again, it wasn't even really, obviously always want to get photos on these trips, but this one was just to enjoy it and really, just kind of appreciate the time I had there before I started the fall stuff. So it definitely succeeded in that. Couldn't have asked for anything else. And it was nice being out there. There was some people there kind of walking early, but overall not many. And ended up, few people told me again, you got to get breakfast from Beach Bagels. So I walked up there after sunrise, and I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe for up that way they were okay, the bagels, but what I'm used to down more here, it was, like one I would just grab at the grocery store or something. Nothing special at all. So, nothing great about that. Then made way back to the hotel, walked by one more time on the beach, and just relaxed a little bit. It was nice. Could actually see, the ocean from the room. So just relaxed a bit and got ready, and then was out, check out like 10:30ish. So ended up heading back over just one more time to back down by the pier area. Wanted to grab a coffee. I had one there a few years ago from Cafe 64. So grabbed a nice mocha from there. And I remember it being like, they're like famous for their big cinnamon rolls. And I did grab one last time, but was too full to have one this time. But as I walked back, I saw the pier fries were opening and it was like, it was before 11 o'clock. So walked around a bit and kind of contemplated. I'm like, is it too early? And then I'm like, it's never too early for French fries when you're away. So I decided to snag a pint, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't the smallest, but it wasn't the box or anything. And the fries are good. They're like classic crinkle cut. Um, you know, I'd say they're a good fry. It's not like it's like the most amazing fry you've ever had, but there's just something about it. And obviously, you mix in the nostalgia if you're someone who's had it as a kid or growing up, or it's like a thing you do every year. But I always remember the thing about it there was having like the vinegar, the malt vinegar, on the side to kind of dip them in or put them on it. So, um, I definitely had that with it, and I guess to this day, salt and vinegar chips are one of my favorites. So I guess I've always enjoyed that kind of flavor. But it was fun, and again brought back some nostalgia sitting there and having the pure fries with the vinegar, and it's right next to, I think it's Bill's Pizza is the name. It's like one of those with giant pizza and slices and everything. It was like it was like 10:30 a.m. and all these places were open for like pizza, fried dough, fries. So I guess when you're in a spot like that, people get after it early. But so it was good so I got myself a coffee, some pure fries, and then started making my way down, and was looking kind of for something new to check out as I made my way down to where I'd be spending the next part of the trip, and made my way over to Biddeford Pool. Really neat little area right along the coast, and I I actually saw one spot because I was looking for golf courses like I played last week on the Cape, and of course all the cool courses that are right on the water are private, which is like a bummer because like I'd love to play, but obviously it wasn't happening. And then I noticed this one course, a private one, and then around it was this trail, and clicked on it to read about it, and people were talking about it's a wildlife refuge there called East Point, and actually public, it's a path around where the golf course is right along the water, and from not that far out, mile or a little less, you'd have an amazing view of the lighthouse out that way. Which is, I'm sorry, Wood Island Lighthouse. I was trying to blank on the name of it. But it was one that I've seen a few pictures, but I've never seen in person or captured myself. So I figured, hey, new spot, walk by the ocean and see what I get. And it was a great walk. It was windy. The waves were going again, like they've been the whole time I was there. And got out, and actually, like, the sun was behind me. So the lighthouse was in the right position, had some cool clouds behind it with the waves crashing in front. So it was actually a good photo op, especially for like midday. So I think I got some cool shots from that. I didn't edit any of the ones from my actual camera yet. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously I'll be putting up some quick snaps and video clips for a few things as well. But yeah, so it was great to get a new spot in to check out, get some walking along the ocean, and another lighthouse for the collection, and actual like usable images too, which midday is hard to get. Then plan from there was to head through Perkins Cove and grab lobster roll 2 of the trip, but it was nuts. It was like driving through downtown. Well, I went through Kennebunkport first, and that was nuts, and it was like I can't believe it was the end of September, but it was a Sunday. Then through Perkins Cove, downtown Algonquin first, Perkins Cove, and it was like no parking spots anywhere in Madhouse. I was like, all right, I'm not doing this right now. It just was not, not that I thought it was going to be dead or anything, but wasn't going to deal with that. Then I was like, all right, I'll just make my way over to York, which is where I'd be spending Sunday night, the second night there. And ended up getting there a little early, but pulled into the hotel, and my room was actually ready early, so it worked out. For this one, it was another one of those kind of historic hotels right on the beach there, and this one was right on Short Sands Beach, and this is the Union Bluff Hotel, and that one's 1868 was the year that one was started, and so it's kind of cool. Both nights I stayed in places that are kind of like the old school fixtures there, both built in the mid to late 1800s, and are still rolling to this day. So thought that was cool. And another one where I had the views of the water, a little bit of the beach right from my room, and there was like several buildings, so there was rooms in different parts of it. and they had like a wedding going on that day too, in the grounds, and they have another building off to the other side where they do weddings, other events. So have a lot going on there, but I could definitely see why, just being again in another iconic coastal Maine location right there with like, candy shops and restaurants and everything, and obviously the beach. And so, settled in there a little bit and kind of enjoyed it. Knew I wouldn't be in the room too long, so took that all in. Then I was trying to make a game plan, and not a lot of great sunset spots, obviously, along the coastal areas there. More sunrise opportunities, everything just facing east. So Perkins Cove is actually, in Agunquit, is actually a good little sunset spot that you can get looking back on the cove there with all the boats and the sun setting behind there. So I made my way back, and this time, luckily, by the end of the day, I was able to find a parking spot easier, and just took those scenes in there. It's one of my favorite spots anywhere. I typically like getting a little more north on the coast in Maine to, avoid the more beachy beaches and super tourist areas. I love the working harbors, more of the rocky coastline of like mid coast and further. But there's something about that little area there in Perkins Cove is just a special little spot with the with the drawbridge, and you can walk over and take photos from, and if you're ever in the spot and a boat needs to come through, you actually can hit the button and send the bridge up for them. So it's again one of those special spots in New England that's super unique, and a lot of people have been going there forever, with their families and friends over the years. So it was looking pretty promising for sunset actually, and it got real close, about 20 minutes or so, to when sun would start going down. The clouds were like set up perfect, so like usual, I'm just kind of standing there begging for them to hold on, and unfortunately they like broke apart and kind of moved on, and I was like, if they only lasted about 10-12 minutes more, it would have been one of a spectacular sunset, but still beautiful, don't get me wrong. I've gotten some really good ones there, so but a little bit of color in the sky and a nice night, so again no complaints from me. I made it back to the hotel, then around dark, and had dinner that night at the pub inside of the Union Bluff there. They have another restaurant, but I think it's only Wednesday through Saturday. I forget the schedule, but it's different. They weren't open, for Sunday dinner, but the pub, I believe, is open every night. And sat at the bar there and had this nice grilled salmon dinner, mashed potatoes and vegetables. So it was really good. One of my healthier choices for when I'm on the road. I try to eat healthier during the week, but when I'm on these trips, I tend to indulge a bit. So that was nice. Walked around down by the beach at night a bit, down by the again, all those spots where all the shops are, and some restaurants, and like there's like arcade area, bowling, and it's cool being at these spots. I always like it where you're there with either very few people or alone. A lot of times it's just me walking down these spots, and they just look so different than during the day when there's just hundreds, thousands of people kind of coming through, and they almost look like these old school movie sets, just being all empty with most of the lights off and just street lights on. And so I really enjoyed that, and that was a cool spot, I think, to have the last night of summer for me. And obviously the next morning being able to wake up around the same time, just before sunrise, and walk right out from the room right onto the beach. And it was another one that wasn't a crazy sunrise, but had some real cool pastel colors a bit. And then the sun actually popped up and was like this glowing orb in between the clouds for a little bit before disappearing again, and then appeared again when it got a bit higher. So not like one of those wow all throughout the sky sunrises, but very pretty, very unique. And that was actually the first day of fall. So for me, I was experiencing that on the beach, and couldn't have asked for a better couple nights in that area there. That's become special to me. After walked down the beach a little bit, walked through a couple of the streets there, and grabbed a bacon, egg, and cheese and a iced mocha from a spot called the Beach Bliss Cafe, right down off, forget what street, but right down there where everything is. I'd never stopped there before, and it was good. The coffee was really good. So could definitely say that's a spot I recommend if you're down in York and you want a latte or anything. Um, just kind of soaked up as much time as I could there on the beach. Back to the hotel a little before checkout and got ready, and you know, had to say goodbye to York, but not before going over to the Nubble Lighthouse, which is, I think it's one of the most visited lighthouses in the country. Portland Headlight, I guess, might be more. I forget, but it's definitely up there. It's got to be in the top 5. Just easy to get to, and there's a good amount of parking. But even on a Monday at the end of September, it was nuts, and there was just every spot was filled. Luckily, I snagged one, but you know, you could have told me it was August, and I would have believed you by the activity there and how many people were there. Tons of shots there, so it's not like I needed anything as far as from that angle. But the waves were still going nuts, so I tried to get down as low as I could, and snagged a few, and also some video clips of it. Kind of was one of the themes of the trip, was just kind of getting mesmerized and just sitting there and enjoying the waves. So after that, I ended up back at Perkins Cove because I wanted my lobster roll from Footbridge Lobster, which I think is one of the better ones in the Gunkwood area. So it was cool to get back there, and still busy even for a Monday, but got a spot and had the roll. Then walked down Marginal Way all the way to the end into town. Snagged an ice cream from Sweet Peas there. This black raspberry with like chocolate inside of it. It was really good. At least I put some steps in to work it off, and then walked back the whole way again, back to the cove where my car was. And, I sat for a while in between just because the waves were like insane there. It was spots of it. It reminded me of like Thunder Hole in Acadia. It was like obviously not quite to that level, but I had never seen waves crashing in like that in the Gunkwood. They're like slamming up against the rocks, shooting water in the air, and then like, all like flowing down over the rocks. It was really cool. So it was hard to leave, and but I had to make a call. I was like, I didn't want to stay all the way till sunset and then get back super late. So ended up leaving there 4:30 to get home a little after dark. So worked out perfect. I assume a lot of you have been that way. If not, definitely check it out at some point. And yeah, and now we're on to fall. And after it looked like it was going to be this early crazy start everywhere like 2020 was, there was just warmer weather came back again in most of New England, and it seems like it slowed things down again. So I have no idea what the overall kind of season's going to be like as far as how colorful, but it's looking like now things are trending a bit more to average times. So maybe slightly early, but kind of average for what you think for each areas, with like Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, up in Great North Woods, inland Maine, peaking in the next week or so by early October. Then by the holiday weekend, you have White Mountains, kind of central Vermont, and then go on from there, making its way down. So, I said last week things were looking early because they were, but it seems like they've slowed down. So I had already had the Northeast Kingdom booked for the first weekend in October, but this weekend with some color going, and because I'm ready to get into it, I'll be heading back up to northern Vermont for the first time in a while, and kicking off the fall foliage hunting season there. So kind of don't have a set plan, just figure get as far north as possible and try to check out some spots that historically have gone to peak earlier, and you always find some stuff early. So we'll see what I find, and obviously I'll report back next week and let you guys know what the plan is moving forward for the next week or two. So hope you guys have some good plans for fall, and now it's actually here, and I'm excited to enjoy the season. So thank you guys for tuning in once again, and I'll see you next week.